Welcome to my first book review. A lot of the books I have are picture books, and I've sorted them out into different categories, mostly based off of place of origin. For this book haul, we will be focusing on picture books that are inspired or translations and retellings from the French author Charles Perrault. I really don't know how it's pronounced. All in all, this is a cute book. It's not particularly spectacular or something like that, but it's a nice story. The artwork is really good. There's a few things that doesn't quite add up, like why is the horse flying? There's little touches that I thought was interesting, like at the ball they have the little lanterns like that. I thought that was kind of cool. Story-wise, there's really nothing added to the story or particularly unique, but the artwork itself is gorgeous, and I have a hard time being overly critical on artwork because I know each artist put a bit of themselves, and a lot of work goes into their illustrations. But honestly, I just have to give this book a 2. It's average. It doesn't wow me. And that could be down to personal taste too, which is another reason why I don't want to be harsh on artists, and I would like to just give them all 3s and 4s, but average is average. If it doesn't stand out for some reason, even just a little bit. Alright, our next one is based off of the new Disney live action movies, so it's kind of interesting to see them. Oh, hey, they're cartoon. They're drawings now. You went from live action to drawings. To be perfectly honest, it's kind of interesting. The story rhymes, and it gives it kind of a different cadence and feel to it. Also, because it is based on the movie, and the movie itself had a particular moral, which was to remain kind no matter how terrible and bitter things are. And in particular says to have courage and be kind. And that's the theme that crops up in the movie. It's a theme that's repeated in the books, and the books especially seem like they really want to make sure that hammers home. And I say books because Disney put out multiple books based off of their newest live action Cinderella film. The art style is, actually quite nice. It's not terrible. And, and actually in a lot of ways it's simplified, so they don't, like in the faces, they don't necessarily look a lot like the actors and actresses from the film. Mostly it's just, the generic shapes, the styles of the clothing, the designs and stuff in the live action that's used, not really the images of the actors and actresses, because most of the faces really, they look exactly the same. Just change the hair. There's not much difference between the characters' faces. But I like the cadence of the rhyme and stuff. If you're not interested in that, you might not like it. Not all of it is great. So I'm just gonna give it a 3. It's above average, It's not like the most interesting book ever, but it's not the worst thing either. So I guess that brings me to the other Cinderella, and this one does have actual photographs of the characters and scenes from the movies. And this is a reader book, and again, it's kindness and courage. That's the moral. It's for children, so we're gonna encourage this moral. I have to say, they're a lot more careful about not giving away a lot of the movie in this by only covering the first 2 acts, really. And even that, they're skipping a lot of the developments and side plot and character development, really. So they're really keeping it simple. The photo. It's from the movie, and it goes to show, okay, the stepsisters were supposed to be on a rampage, tearing up her dress, you know, making her feel awful and everything. Alright? The dress is barely torn. So, the dress on this looks a lot more tattered. And that kind of goes to show some of the problems with movies. A lot of times, even when something's supposed to be dirty, it's supposed to be torn and ripped. Look, this is Cinderella in her work clothes. She's still sparkly clean. I mean, there's a few smudges. The dress isn't worn out. It's not old fabric. I mean, look at the damage done to that dress. It looks far more realistic, like some harm was really done. It has a lot more emotional impact to it than this one. Honestly, it's not like it's the most terrible thing. As far as the rating goes for this one, it's a 1, okay? It's not an awful book, but it is below average. It's just, it's there. Cinderella. Translated and illustrated by Marcia Brown. I like this art style. This is like a very old style. Marcia Brown has a copyright on this on 1954. That means it was published 4 years after Disney's Cinderella. And I have to say, I like this better. I like this much better than the Disney animated Cinderella that came out in 1950. This book has just those little touches. It has all those little familiar notes, but it has some very important touches. The wordings and things, there's certain word choices that we wouldn't use today. I mean, think about that. It's like 60, a little over 60 years old, and there's already changes in our language, and yet I think this is an awesome book. I think this would be a really great reader for young children too. It has and conveys not just the moral lessons, it also has, shows character, the moral character, a strong character. While Disney has to constantly say, have courage and be kind, have courage and be kind. The Cinderella of the Disney is only kind to animals. She's never really shown to be kind to people. The Cinderella of this story is shown to be very kind to people. Also, I think it's very important to note, while the stepmother plays an initial role by marrying the father, by keeping him under her thumb, and by being the example to her daughters, it is really the stepsisters, the sibling rivalry, that creates the persecution for Cinderella more than anything else. And so it is the relationship between her and her stepsisters that's also an important part of the story. So this, I will give a 4. This is a very good book. We can do Cinderella. Most of these are just called Cinderella. That cover. The girl on this, she looks like she's so young. So young. I have to say, I enjoyed the art style. It's very unique. It's kind of fun. It has its own sorts of cartoony exaggeration, but also some realisticness. The expressions, they look like porcelain doll faces. So pretty. See our sad Cinderella and the stepsisters looking whimsical there. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the princess not completely stupid like most of the ones. Not the ones I've read so far in this, but most of the movies, the princess tends to be a little, not this whole bright. I'm just gonna give it a 2. It's average. I mean, this one next. Okay, again, it's the exaggerated cartoony, you know, with the big heads and everything. I like this. I do. It's very self-aware that it is a retelling. No bones about it, but that actually adds to the narration, and I actually really enjoy just the narrative. I like the cartooniness of like pages like this with the mice and stuff, and it's kind of silly and stuff, and I like that. But there's other pages that is not necessarily the art style that I really like. There's also a very surreal feeling about this artwork and the story that goes with it, being like, hey, we're retelling the story, we know it, this is a timeless story, it's not going to be told as if it's established a particular time and place. But you know what, that's okay, and I like that. And so overall, I like this book. It's kind of fun. Art style is not my favorite, but I love the narrative. I just found the narrative really fun. I'm gonna give this book a 3.5, okay? The artwork's not terrible. It's really hard for me to judge artwork because it is really a matter of preference over whether it's good or bad. It is what it is. Another simple Cinderella. Looking at it, so now this borrows a little more from the Brothers Grimm than I was expecting it to. I know I read this book a really long time ago when I was a kid, and like I said, I like the art style. This is just fabulous. You have the mirror and the reflection of the faces, and there's so much detail on this page. It's really great. So much detail, so beautiful, but sometimes some of the faces, the eyes have like that dead eye look. It's good. I like that it married the two most popular versions of Cinderella, the Brothers Grimm, which, you know, comes from the German, and then Charles Perrault coming from France. So there is a flaw, and I see this as a pattern so far, the stories that has Cinderella's father still alive, in that when you get to the part about them going to the ball, there's no mention of him. I mean, can't they just, like, at least, like, they say that he remains quiet and stuff when the abuse and stuff first happens, and this story tries to delve into his thinking processes a little bit, and yet when it comes to the permission to the ball, it's like he's not there at all. When it goes to the ball, he's not there at all, and it's like, shouldn't he have been at the ball? And shouldn't he have recognized his daughter? And, or, you know, there's so many things. It's like, from a story point of view, could you not have reconciled the father being at the ball, so you just don't even mention it? That just kind of creates problems in and of itself. Okay, so that's a flaw. But for all my gushing and stuff like that over that, I'm just going to give this one a 3. It's above average. It's not very good. It's not. And that concludes my first book haul review. I plan to do another book haul review and post it later this month. This video is actually about an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes, cut up to fit my 15 or under 15 minute limit. Maybe one of these days I'll post the unedited version if anybody is interested.